This is ABC7 News at 5. Your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, I'm Haley Wilkes.
I'm Scott Dennis. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.
First this evening, President Trump facing new fallout and criticism from all sides on his refugee and immigration crackdown.
Protests are breaking out across the country and around the world, and even here on the Suncoast. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has more from Washington.
President Trump's immigration ban on visitors from predominantly Muslim countries is sending shockwaves across the world. Protesters pouring into the streets from Israel to London, demonstrations spanning several U.S. states. The order bans Syrian refugees from entering the U.S. indefinitely and puts a 120-day stop on all other refugees. It also issues a 90-day ban on nearly all travelers from Iran, Iraq, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen, none of which were involved in a single major terror attack on U.S. soil, including 9/11.
This isn't just unconstitutional. This is inhumane.
Lawsuits are being filed against the Trump administration over this policy. Washington's Attorney General Bob Ferguson is the first to announce legal action.
If successful, this would have the effect of invalidating the president's unlawful action nationwide.
The Council on American Islamic Relations also plans to sue the administration.
We will not allow Donald Trump to change the tradition of America.
The White House says they're trying to get ahead of a possible threat.
We're not going to wait till we get attacked and figure out how we can make sure it doesn't happen again. He's going to do everything in his power to stop every threat that we face in this country and every potential threat.
Some Republicans and most Democrats are not on board.
Holy moly. We're just making a lot of decisions in a very hasty manner. We need to slow it down, think it through.
And former President Obama breaking his silence. A spokesman saying Obama fundamentally disagrees with the notion of discriminating against individuals based on their faith or religion. Stephanie Ramos, ABC News, Washington.
And yesterday, Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly clarified that says the order allows green card holders who are permanent residents to return to the United States.
Within a day of President Trump signing that executive order, protests sprang up, as we mentioned, all across the U.S., also taking place on the Suncoast, where demonstrators called the ban unconstitutional. A group of about 40 protesters stood outside of Congressman Vern Buchanan's office in downtown Sarasota to oppose President Trump's temporary ban on immigration from certain countries, calling it racist and unconstitutional.
This country has been built by immigration, and to punish thousands for the acts of a few, I don't see how this in any way helps protect us.
Coming up tonight at 6, ABC7's Dwayne Lindo has reaction from experts on both sides of Trump's executive order.
Governor Scott is in South Florida today and talking about President Trump's recent executive order. This governor says he believes President Trump is working for public safety. He told reporters Florida is a melting pot with more than 250 languages spoken here. Scott also says he wants to know who is coming into Florida, something he says he was not provided by the Obama administration.
Our immigration system is a mess. We all care about public safety. And so we all need to work together to figure out how to improve our immigration system. But I do want everybody that lives in our state, we have over 20 million people and over 100 million tourists, they all want to be safe. And that's what I'm going to keep focused on, is how do we keep people safe.
Governor Scott also spoke against those who call the order a Muslim ban, saying that Muslims are not his concern, but radical Islam is. We are monitoring this developing story on President Trump's travel ban, and you can stay on top of the latest information by downloading our My Suncoast app. You'll get breaking news alerts, weather forecast, and community news updates delivered straight to the palm of your hand.
The sheriffs of Sarasota County touting a reduction in crime. Sheriff Tom Knight says major crimes decreased by more than 7% in 2016, and total offenses were down 6% compared to last year, or 2015, that is. Sheriff Knight also says violent crime dropped more than 9%, and burglary cases were down more than 18%. In 2016, the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office reported 93,000 calls, which 5% more than the previous year, and made more than 8,000 total arrests. Sheriff Knight credits the reduction in crime to the sheriff office's ties with area residents and flexibility in staffing.
A follow-up now in an art theft investigation in Sarasota. Two men have been arrested for that crime. 30-year-old Anthony Larson and 29-year-old Rex Bollinger both face grand theft charges. Larson was recognized by a resident. Bollinger turned himself in after seeing himself on the news. Police releasing surveillance video showing two men stealing two paintings from the Art Avenue store in the Westfield Southgate Mall last month. The paintings have not been recovered. Detectives learning they were discarded somewhere in the Sarasota area.
Northport police are investigating a three-car crash involving a school bus. The bus, car, and a pickup truck collided at Flamingo Boulevard and West Hillsborough Boulevard around 8:45 this morning. All three vehicles were seriously damaged, but no students were on the bus at the time. The driver of the car and truck were taken to area hospitals with minor injuries. Police have not said how the crash happened or who they believe is responsible.
Health officials are urging people not to swim in one certain waterway in Manatee County. A no-swim advisory has now been issued for the Palmasola Beach South. That area is west of 81st Street West on the south side of the causeway. Health officials in Manatee County say they received test results last Thursday that showed a heightened level of harmful bacteria in the water. The water will be tested again next Monday. Other beaches in Manatee County, though, are all clear.
And not probably a day you want to get in the water. Anyways, beautiful out there, but chilly, so let's head over to Bob.
Yeah, I was just biking right by there about 4 hours ago and went to the Robinson Preserve as well. Beautiful day, albeit on the chilly side. Lakewood Ranch webcam showing clear skies all across the Suncoast, and that's a result of a large area of high pressure, which is built in. The last few frames, you'll start to see some cirrus clouds, some cirrus contrails, too, from some jet traffic well above our surface here. And as far as the current conditions go, looking out over Sarasota Bay, the waves have been fairly high. Small craft advisories have been in effect throughout the day. 61 degrees right now and clear skies. Now, once the sun sets, temperature's going to fall fairly quickly. The dew point temperature is at 32, which is extremely low, and humidity now at 34%. It's dry out there, and the barometer way up there, 30, 21. That continues to rise at this hour. 60 degrees our current temperature in Jacksonville, 61 in Orlando, 61 in Sarasota. Temperatures all here along the coast in the low 60s, covering all of the coast. Now, the Gulf water temperature now at 65 degrees. And as far as the rain goes, no rain around at all. We don't anticipate any showers. We had some activity yesterday. We do anticipate some frost, especially in wind-protected areas in inland counties, Hardee, DeSoto, Highlands counties. Sarasota and Manatee County not included in that frost advisory. We still we had a high wind surf advisory, but that has since expired just within the last 2 minutes. But temperatures will be into the mid to upper 30s. No freezing temperatures here, but we will see some frost form, as I said, in some wind-protected areas. We could even get some into eastern Manatee and Sarasota counties at this time, but not a concern for plants into Sarasota and Manatee counties. The wave heights were strong earlier today. Those are now weakening. You can see that they were up to 10 to 15 foot high out there in the Gulf of Mexico. And then just the last few hours, it's starting to come down a bit, so that's a good sign as well. Well, much more on the rest of the week's forecast. The winds will really let up. It was windy today, but not nearly as windy throughout the day on Tuesday. More on that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, Bob, thank you. A well-known automotive group on the Suncoast is expanding in Florida. Gettle Automotive Group buying the Palm dealerships, 11 in all, in Punta Gorda. That brings the number of Florida dealerships to 22 in total. The Gettle dealerships have been operating in the Bradenton-Sarasota area for 26 years now, starting with Jim Gettle's first Toyota dealership back in 1991. Gettle owns 6 stores on the Suncoast, including Hyundai, Nissan, and Acura, along with dealers in Ocala and in Gainesville.
And ABC7 business commentator Richard Stern is joining us now to tell us that we've had the biggest down day of 2017 so far. Richard.
Haley, you're exactly right, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat it, but I have to just give you a little bit of background. Not only is it the biggest drop that we've seen this year, it's the biggest drop that we've seen since before the presidential election. Think about that, early November. And the Dow Jones Industrial Average is only down by 0.6%. So we have seen predominantly up days and the down days relatively quiet. Today, well, I think we see certainly a reaction to some of the executive orders issued by President Trump over the weekend. We also saw problems with airline stocks. Delta had a little problem over the weekend. And oh, by the way, yes, indeed, we closed below 20,000. Let's take a look at the figures, and they're not terrible. They're not great either. There you see the Dow down 122 points. Again, we were down by 223 at the low of the day, so we did pick up 100 points. We were down 0.61%, closing at 19,971.13. That on heavy volume of 844 million shares. The NASDAQ was the biggest loser of the day, down more than 0.8%, 47 points at 5,613.71. That on volume of 1,702 million shares. And the S&P almost exactly the same as the Dow, down by 0.6%, just under 14 points at 2,280.90. Well, I expect you might be familiar with a company by the name of Fitbit. They have different gadgets that you can look at your watch and see how many steps you've taken, how many calories you've used up, et cetera, et cetera. And they were really the first wearable company to come public. Well, guess what? They're not doing quite as well as they did early on. They've got lots of competition. The company's shares today fell by 16%. That's almost unheard of. And the reason, they came out with poor earnings for the second consecutive quarter. They announced that they're going to cut their workforce by somewhere between 5 and 10%. And Haley and Scott, I have to tell you, when a company announces earnings that are not only below expectations, but below for the second consecutive quarter, and there's no secret the competition that's out there in that business, I think there are rough times today and rough times probably ahead for Fitbit.
Between the competition and those studies that showed that they weren't that accurate. All of these trackers are not as accurate as we thought they were. That doesn't help either.
Well, tomorrow, Richard, we've got some big earnings reports, right?
We sure do, Scott. A company called ExxonMobil is going to announce their earnings before the market opens, and then a company by the name of Apple, if you're familiar with them, they're going to announce their earnings after the market closes. So maybe we'll get back to some good old Wall Street buying and selling based on earnings. Wouldn't that be a pleasant change?
That sounds good. All right, Richard, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Still to come in your Suncoast News tonight, the dry spell may soon be over for corrections officers in Florida. How much of a pay raise thousands of employees may soon see.
And ABC7 Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan will be back with your full weather forecast. And later in Health Smart, what could be lurking in your seafood dinner, something you probably would not expect.
Come into a California Closet showroom to experience our quality materials and construction. Spend time choosing from exciting colors, textures, and accessories, and then collaborate with one of our expert designers to create the perfect custom storage solution to fit your style and budget. At California Closets, we design everything to exceed your expectations for any room in your home. Go to CaliforniaClosets.com to request a free design consultation and locate the nearest showroom to you. California Closets, designed to your life.
I heard about the Dottoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dottoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was. I can tell you that you will not find a finer, more professional team of clinicians anywhere in the world.
Gold fever is at an all-time high in the Sunshine State with the new Gold Rush Doubler family of scratch-off games. Everyone is rushing to Florida to strike it doubly rich. With over $1 billion in total cash prizes, the Florida Gold Rush is on. The Florida Lottery, just imagine.
Being the caregiver for someone you love is truly a blessing. But sometimes you can lose a part of yourself. To be your best, for them and for you, it's important to have time to be able to recharge your batteries. When you call Tidewell Hospice, they can give you a chance to do just that. And with the peace of mind of knowing your loved one is in the very best hands. Tidewell Hospice. It's more than you think.
Ideologue. I am an originalist.
An update now on the man accused of going on a shooting spree at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport.
During an arraignment today, Esteban Santiago pleaded not guilty. He told the judge he understands each of the charges in the 22-count federal indictment. Santiago is accused in the January 6 shooting in which 5 people were killed and 6 were wounded. The FBI says Santiago flew from Alaska to Fort Lauderdale with the handgun in a case in checked luggage. Authorities say he loaded the gun in the bathroom, came out firing in a baggage claim area. If convicted, Santiago could face the death penalty.
2017 may be the year Florida corrections officers finally get a pay raise. Over the past 10 years, state lawmakers have only increased the salaries of officers in Florida's prison system one time. This year, Governor Rick Scott is pushing for lawmakers to approve spending $38 million to boost the pay for the majority of the state's 24,000 corrections and probation workers. Salaries for entry-level officers would rise 8.5%. Sergeants, lieutenants, and captains would see a 10% increase. The pay raise will be part of Scott's recommended budget that he plans to unveil tomorrow. Sarasota Police Department sharing a picture of a nice gesture by a police officer on Facebook. The officer recently responded to a 911 call. When he showed up to the home where the call originated, he learned a little boy had accidentally made the call, and he was scared he was in trouble. So the officer stayed and played ball with that boy and talked to him about when it's the right time to call 911. And I think that's a great way to teach a lesson.
Right.
Right?
It's an important lesson.
Yeah.
Teaching experience made a bad thing turn to a good thing right
to
there.
a good learning
And not only that, a good learning experience for all of us here, all the kids at home watching. Too.
Right.
When you use 911, make sure there's an emergency, obviously. No emergency as far as the weather goes. It's going to be kind of cool tonight, chilly, but nothing extreme at this point. We will see some patchy frost forming. Boy, a beautiful shot here from Van Wezel webcam throughout the late morning and afternoon. Get a look at this. Just generally sunny skies. Once in a while, you'll see some cirrus clouds coming in, especially late in the frames there. You'll see that coming in from the west, some jet traffic moving on through at times, and the sea state is starting to calm down a bit. So we had a high surf advisory that has since expired, and also rip current advisory. That too not as much of an issue. Get a look at this. Gorgeous pictures sent in from last night's sunset. Damon Powers getting this. Another spectacular view as you look there and see that mid to high level cloudiness there moving in from the Gulf. As far as the Titan radar picture goes, no rain around, and we're not anticipating any rain at all this weekend, the week and into the weekend, in fact. Things are going to stay dry. We had some showers yesterday that produced, about 1/10 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch in some areas. Now, as far as the rainfall goes, although there's some echoes showing up there, again, that's that military exercise going on out in the Gulf of Mexico, but nothing to worry about as far as our temperatures go, although it's not going to be the warmest weather. We will see some cooler temperatures overnight. Sarasota right now, 61 degrees, clear skies, the humidity at 34%, really low, really dry out there, and the winds out of the north-northwest at 10. Now, those winds will start to lessen somewhat late tonight, but especially in the morning hours, which will allow some of that frost to form basically well east of Manatee and Sarasota counties, but we could see some patchy frost in some colder objects such as vehicles and like in places like Lakewood Ranch. Rosedale right now 61, 59 at Holmes Beach, and temperature 62. Lake Sarasota, Siesta Key are at 61 degrees, and 65 now in Port Charlotte, Rotunda at 62. Well, looking at the forecast for tomorrow's high temperatures, will be a little bit warmer tomorrow, upper 60s, not as windy. It will make it feel all that much nicer out there. It will be a cool start, though. We'll have temperatures, as I mentioned, into the upper 30s to low 40s across most of the area. Now, that wind forecast looking quite nice compared to today's gusty winds out there. We're looking at winds anywhere from 5 to 10 miles an hour. Not much, and not much in terms of gusts either. Well, the futurecast showing that area of low pressure continues to move away. High pressure builds in across all of the southeast with clear skies and rather light winds. That high will eventually position itself east of the states, and that will give us that east to southeasterly wind flow, which will warm us back up into the mid-70s as quickly as Wednesday, but more so Thursday and through the weekend. And looking downrange, long-range forecast, and not showing anything significant right through the weekend, so it looks as though we'll see a beautiful weekend ahead. Lows tonight will be into the mid-40s in places like Rotunda, Placida, and Port Charlotte will be cooler, 40 inland, Northport 38, Mayaca City at 37. Osprey, you'll be at 40 to start the morning off. Lakewood Ranch, upper 30s, and 45 in Bradenton, 48 Anna Maria, so right on the water. Temperature still cool, but not nearly as cold as it will be in places like Arcadia as well as Wauchula. They'll see lows there in the upper 30s. Satellite and radar imagery showing that cold air continues to plummet southward in the trough of low pressure that's holding out across the eastern third of the nation, and a little bit of a snowstorm now into Minnesota and into Wisconsin, just north of Chicago right now. But Not a lot as far as severe weather goes or intense winter weather at this point. Temperatures colder, but not extreme over the Northeast. Right now, Detroit 27, Minot 10 degrees warmer at 37 degrees. For boaters tomorrow, the winds calming down, seas coming down as well. Seas 2 to 3 feet with a light chop on the bays and inland waters. As far as the tides go for Sarasota Bay, low tide will be at 8:30 or 8:23 this evening. A high tide again at 1:43 in the morning. The forecast tonight. Patchy frost inland, clear and cool, chilly start. Low temperatures generally in the low 40s here near the coast. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, a bit warmer, not as windy. East winds 5 to 10. And the extended forecast is calling for sunshine all the way through Monday. Really, temperatures into the mid-70s after we get away from the 60s on Tuesday. Scott?
All right, Bob, thank you so much. In Suncoast Traffic Watch right now, I-75 is backed up in that usual trouble spot right close to the Fruitville Road exit in Sarasota. Slow going there. Haley?
Thank you, Scott. In health news tonight, the outbreak of mumps cases in Washington state has now reached nearly 300. The cases, which span 5 counties, affect mostly school children. Mumps causes muscle pain, fever, headache, and swollen glands, and it can lead to brain infections, deafness, and damage to reproductive organs. The State Department of Health is encouraging people to get vaccinated if they have not already. In Washington, parents may opt their children out of vaccination with a statement by a health care practitioner that he or she provided information about the benefits and risks of immunization. When you eat seafood, you may be eating small pieces of plastic. Ocean pollution is getting ingested by marine life in the form of tiny, toxic microplastics. According to researchers at the University of Ghent in Belgium, if you eat a lot of seafood, these microplastics will eventually end up in your stomach. The study showed that humans do pass 99% of that, but the remainder gets soaked up by the tissue in your body. Researchers are not sure if that has any implications on a person's health. Some other not so good seafood news. Salmon prices have reached historic highs due to an outbreak of sea lice in Norway, which offers the world's largest farmed salmon supply. The half-inch parasites nibble on the fish's blood and tissue. A deadly algae bloom in Chile, the second largest farmed salmon supplier, has exacerbated this supply issue. Salmon farms exist in designated netted areas of the ocean. They are conducive to breeding these sea lice because of the confined quarters. Coming up, an emergency landing in Florida. A pilot is forced to bring his small plane down on a busy interstate. Plus, watch out for that charging moose. A group of hikers have to think outside the box to get away from this irritated animal.
The official Suncoast Storm team at ABC7. We're here for you.
Today, everyone is looking for more fashionable choices in flooring than ever before. And G. Fried has responded with a huge selection of carpets, tile, wood, laminate, and vinyl. Installed by a highly skilled team, G. Fried has got everything you're looking for and more. The next time you think about quality flooring, think G. Fried Flooring America. G. Fried Flooring America. Our world is at your feet.
Are you considering joint replacement or revision surgery? Consider this. Dr. Edward Stolarski has performed thousands of successful joint replacement procedures and trained surgeons from all over the world. Using advanced technologies, Dr. Stolarski is able to perform some of the most complex surgeries.
I wish I knew about Dr. Stolarski much sooner. After the surgery, I don't have any pain. It's like I've got a 16-year-old hip.
My name's Ed Stolarski. What I really do is I give people back their life.
Schedule a consultation today.
Join us for Sarasota Opera's 2017 Winter Festival, opening February 11th. Featuring Puccini's most famous opera, Madame Butterfly, Rossini's delightful comedy, The Italian Girl in Algiers, Poulenc's heartbreaking dialogues of the Carmelites, and the medieval thriller, The Love of Three Kings by Italo Montemezzi. Tickets are on sale now. Call 941-328-1300 or visit sarasotaopera.org.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, Contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
A rocky landing for a flight in South Florida. The pilot of a small plane had to make an emergency landing on Interstate 95 in Vero Beach early this morning. Troopers say the plane flew out of Fort Pierce Airport and the pilot was the only person on board. He was not hurt. The plane blocked 2 southbound lanes as crews loaded it onto a tow truck. A flight school owns the plane. There's no word yet why the pilot had to make that emergency landing. A bizarre sight on Phoenix roadways today. A new 50-foot rocket is being driven around the downtown area. The Vector rocket is the world's smallest satellite launch vehicle. It will be displayed at the Aerospace Arizona 2017 event at the state capitol. The event will highlight the importance of the aerospace industry to the state of Arizona. Vector is a Tucson-based new small satellite rocket launch vehicle company.
A frightening encounter between a moose and a group of hikers in Utah. William Barba says he and more than a dozen others met up to snowshoe and hike in the Wheeler Creek area. Not a mile up the trail, one of the hikers had a dog with them, which apparently spooked a moose. The moose charged past half the group and came barreling down toward the others.
She came down and she was like a steamroller. When she came down, we only had seconds, before she was right on us.
It came by me and looked at me and snorted as it went by.
The group tried to back away, but there was a problem, and the moose was now back down the trail, blocking their way to safety. The hikers say the moose charged at least 3 separate times while the group hunkered down and tried to stay away. Eventually, 2 hikers were able to get back down to their cars, but the others, who were farther up the trail, spent an extra 2 hours hiking the trail even farther to get to the road in a roundabout way. But everyone's safe. The only surviving giant panda triplets in the world are adapting to their new habitat in South China. The triplets are now 2.5 years old. Just before the Chinese Lunar New Year, the cubs were separated from their mother so they can start living by themselves. The safari park has ice-making equipment to build an icy environment for the pandas in the winter and relieve them from the summer heat. So far, the siblings have adapted quite well. When they turn 4 years old, they will be separated from each other.
They sure are cute.
Oh.
Nothing cuter than a panda.
I know, especially a baby panda. And watching them play is so cute. Well, still to come on your Suncoast News, a second full day of debate over phosphate mining in Manatee County.
Find out if county commissioners are getting any closer to deciding whether or not to approve Mosaic's controversial request. That story coming up.
Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com for Chef Judy's favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
I entered into real estate to help people. I would like to invoke a trust in people that I will do everything in my power to help them navigate the process of either buying or selling a home. Well, I know how stressful buying a home can be. I've bought and sold properties in the past before I was an agent. I want you to be able to trust me to stay in contact with you, be available to you whenever you have questions. My name is Kimberly, and I want to be your real estate agent.
Come out to the best party of the season, the Goodwill Mardi Gras Gala on February 28th at Michael's on E. Tickets at experiencegoodwill.org.
We consider the first 60 minutes the golden hour, the time that we can do the most to affect how a patient's going to do. I think what motivates all of us is that at the other end of it, we see them, smiling and happy and going back to their families. That's our greatest satisfaction. Sarasota Memorial Hospital is just an amazing place to take care of people.
The official salon of ABC7. Loose Salon.
Come into a California Closet showroom to experience our quality materials and construction. Spend time choosing from exciting colors, textures, and accessories, and then collaborate with one of our expert designers to create the perfect custom storage solution to fit your style and budget. At California Closets, we design everything to exceed your expectations for any room in your home. Go to CaliforniaClosets.com to request a free design consultation and locate the nearest showroom to you. California Closets, designed to your life.